Welcome to Cosmic Imprint, a podcast bringing you weekly goodness as the home of lightworkers, new paradigm leaders, sensitive souls, magical beings, spiritual seekers, and both spiritual CEOs alike, who are ready to live life in alignment with your own soul's truth and who are here to buck the trends, color outside the lines, thriving in this lifetime's incarnation. Join me each week for conversations about all things human design, weaving my own soul magic where I'll share my intuitive gifts, love of all things metaphysical, manifestation, mindset, fifth dimension, spirit guides, light beings, and beyond. Let's explore your cosmic imprint together. Hi, friends. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening in. Welcome to today's episode. We're going to cut straight to the point today because I am on fire after delivering this live training over in my Facebook group, Cosmic Imprint, and I just felt so called to share it with you here on the podcast as well. It is all about the 6 profile lines that exist within human design. And now, of course, for those of you who might be a little bit more familiar with your individual design, you have 2 profile numbers within your profile, and they are made up of numbers 1 through 6 and come in 12 different combinations and variations. So what I've done in this little mini training is I've broken it down into explaining the essence of the 6 different lines that exist. And so you can kind of get a feel as you listen into this episode of how your profile kind of works, how it feels for you versus what the outside world or people around you might see, and really just gives you that ability to go a little bit deeper into understanding the individual components. And now within your specific profile, I'll use my own as an example. I'm a 6-2 profile. Now, when the 2 lines come together, they kind of form to merge and come together to make something that is like a little bit different. However, the core essence behind the 2 sides is a really good foundational place to start. And that's why I just felt so cool to share this, because I think profile, I just adore. For a start, I'll just be unapologetically loving on profile. It's very much who you sort of come into this lifetime incarnated here to sort of show up day to day as. So your human design covers so many wonderful things about your soul, being, you know, what you came here for, what you came here to do, your gifts that you have, understanding all of those little nuances, where you're most sensitive to the world around you, what your strengths are, where you might have to do a whole lot of deconditioning, what your motivation is, what your kind of manifestation style is, your ideal environment. There's so much, like on and on and on. But profile is really kind of, I guess at its core, you could think this is a little bit like your personality and how all those things are kind of flavored by your profile. And I pretty much like to describe it when I give a reading as this is your outfit that your soul chose to come here wearing in this lifetime. So I'm going to leave that with you. Let's dive on in. Grab yourself a notebook or the notes on your phone. Enjoy this little mini training that I gave live, and you can just really start to get a feel for how your individual profile, your uniqueness, and how you show up day to day. Love you so much, Earthlings. Thank you for listening in. Hello friends, how are you? I thought I would jump in here today. I really wanted to share a little bit of a video just explaining the 6 profile lines. Now obviously you've all been getting the opportunity to dive on into your energy types with the masterclasses, and I am so loving all of your feedback on how you're finding those masterclasses. Seeing all of you that are grabbing more than just your own, because honestly, my heart, that is what I am so here to put human design in so many people's hands, give that opportunity of being able to not only understand yourself, and that's always the place that I suggest where to start, absolutely with yourself, but to be able to access the human design energy types of the rest of your sort of loved ones as well. I am just so grateful for you all being here, being in the group, going down the human design rabbit hole together. It is so fun, so fun. And so just to kind of add a layer to your understanding of your own human design, I believe, on top of that excellent foundation you're giving yourself with your energy type, with understanding your strategy, your alignment, all of that good stuff. And so obviously you bring in your authority as well, which helps with your aligned decision making. But I kind of wanted to talk about profile because this is, if you had to sort of chat about a niche within the niche that is really, I personally find beautiful to understand about yourself, then profile is a really excellent place, because that kind of just gives you that empowerment to understand why you show up in this world the way you do each and every day, and just gives you that deeper understanding of your true uniqueness, your magic. The place where you find your profile within your human design is once you've popped in your chart into your software I recommend My Body Graph. That's one that I find really easy and intuitive to navigate, and it's got a really clear information tab that I love to follow in terms of being able to see all the different aspects of your chart easily identified. And obviously that's why we're here as well, hanging out in this group, because you can get that information, you can download it, you can screenshot it, you can sort of interact with it. And then here's the place where we get to come and chat about what it all means, and I help to kind of translate it for you because obviously it's kind of, when you first download it, it's a lot to take on board. And so that's why I just am here to be this, bridge the gap, give you that information in a way that translates it into easy to understand language. So what I'm going to share about today is the individual profile lines, all 6 of them. And obviously within your chart, you will have 2 identified specific to you. And now profile, to describe it in the way that I personally resonate with describing profile, is that if you think about, you've come here in this incarnation, in this lifetime, and you're going about your energy type strategy, you're living life in alignment with that strategy as a generator, mani-gen, projector, manifestor, reflector, for example. You've got your soul's purpose that you're here living out. And where profile comes into it is you can think of that as the outfit that your soul has put on and come here in this lifetime to sort of live out wearing. So it's the way you show up in this world with all the other nuances and flavors that come in as to do with your chart and your design. So within your profile, as I say, the 2 numbers, the first number is the way in which you typically will see yourself. It's the one that you are probably most comfortable with, most conscious of. It's one that certainly resonates really strongly for a lot of people. Then you'll have the slash and a second number. And now that second number is really interesting because that's typically the way that the rest of the world sees you. So it's the side that is our subconscious. It's the side that we don't necessarily have so much clarity on. And this is where understanding your human design becomes so powerful, because you can sort of finally get that awareness and that clarity and go, oh, okay, this all makes sense now. Why I see myself one way, other people tend to see me in a completely different light. Other people typically can see a lot of our gifts and our talents and our amazingness that we don't necessarily get to have the clarity on ourselves. So it's a really beautiful way of seeing both sides to you. And the interesting part about profile that I kind of geek out on is that it gives you a clear way of seeing where the perhaps less harmonious aspects of your conscious side and your subconscious side come together. And it's kind of like the big universe joke, karmic joke that the universe has put out there for all of us humans here on Earth, roaming around Earth, wearing our little human suits in this lifetime, that the types of profiles that have actually got 2 numbers that are very harmonious and work together really, I guess, effortlessly and easily those people are actually really few and far between. The big joke, I guess, is that the universe has gone, here you guys go. You can all have the profiles that are a little bit more of a challenge to navigate, the two sides of yourself coming together, the two aspects of your profile coming together. And so if you ever feel like when you are getting into understanding your profile, understanding yourself at that deep level with human design, that's where you can start to sort of have that awareness of, okay, these are the two sides of me that are a little bit harder to kind of rub alongside each other, but that's okay. That's part of my journey. That's part of my soul's learning and growth opportunities. And it's actually a really beautiful thing that you've come here with, because it allows you to have those very human, relatable experiences that are ultimately what we're all here from, right? We're all here to learn and grow and expand. We might come in being old souls, star seeds, light workers, whatever the case, but we still have to go through the very human process of learning along the way. And that ultimately is our training ground for what we then go on to embody or share or teach or just live out our lives, helping others by having that understanding at that real integrated level, because we've been there, done that. And I always like to say that, you know, in those cases where it's been a bit more challenging, you know, I'll put my hand up and say, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got the matching hat, got the matching tea towels, you know, like I've got the whole thing. So, you know, they are really aspects of ourselves that we can get a lot more comfortable with, because they're here to be our life learnings and our growth and our expansion moments. So as I said, you can start to get that clarity on the way you see yourself as that first profile line number, and then the way the rest of the world typically will see you, and that's that second number. So let's talk about what profile, how it kind of interacts with that, I guess, outfit that you've chosen to come here wearing in this lifetime, in that our lines in our profile actually directly correlate to the I Ching. So all of in your chart, when you take a look at it, there's all those little red and black lines or full channels. And each of those corresponds to a number, which is, there are 64 numbers, lines within the I Ching, and the profile relates to each of those as well. So just as a real geek out human design moment, if you bear with me for a second, if you're brand new, don't freak out. This is just for people who've maybe had a little bit more time looking through their chart and have been wondering, because I know it was one of the things that I really kind of, it just sat in my mind going, I need to kind of get to the bottom of this. So when you take a look at your chart, and on the right hand side there's a whole lot of squares with the different astrological symbols in, and there's a number and then a point, a decimal point, and then another number. And now where the profile lines come in is that they are all of those decimal points. So essentially they give you a clue as to how you personally, your soul, expresses that particular characteristic or attribute, for example. So a really simple example I'm going to use is that, say in your chart from your G center, you have the line 1 identified either as a red or black line or as part of a channel. That will show up within one of those squares down either the right or the left hand side, and it will show up as a 1 point something if you have it in your chart. Obviously, if it's white and there is nothing there on your chart, then that aspect is not highlighted for you. You've got other gifts elsewhere. And so if you see that 1 point something, what that just signifies for you is that you can look at the number, the point, either 1 through to 6, and see which number comes up for you. And that gives you an indication of what kind of flavoring you have. So if you have a 1.1, then that means that you express the energy of that line as the 1 line, the investigator, you're constantly looking to express that characteristic in the way of being that person who enjoys researching. And then if it goes through and say you have a 0.5, a 1.5, then for example, that is the way you energetically express that is through that role of being here as kind of the save the day energy for other people. Now, I've just gone really deep, really quick. So for the people who are a little bit newer, that's okay. We're now going to go talk about all those individual 6 lines so that you can get a bit of a feel for that. But I just wanted to give you that kind of broader picture so that you understand that you've got your profile that you show up as, which is the foundation point where to start with the 6 lines, but there's also a flavoring or an essence of all these profile aspects that comes into every single gift that you've come here with that is identified within your unique design. So let's talk about the lines. There's 6 and they come together to make 12 different profiles. So with the 2 numbers paired together, there are 12 different profiles that exist, that everyone falls within one of them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the lines 1 through 6, and then you can essentially just take note of or get familiar with the 2 that are within your chart. So like I said at the start, my particular profile is a 6-2. And I know from all our chats within the Facebook group that there are so many other, different multitudes of profiles going on. We've got the full spectrum of 1 through 6 in terms of we've got 3 5s, we've got 5 1s, we've got 1 3s, we've got 6 2s, 2 4s, the whole works. So that's why I thought rather than trying to sit and explain through all 12 profiles, because that would be a very, very long live video for all of us, I'm just going to explain the 6 different ones, and then you can have a look at the 2 that are incorporated within your particular human design within your profile. So let's start with the first line. And now what I'm also going to share about during this is my intuitive way of talking about these profile lines. And I mentioned the other day in the group that I particularly myself don't resonate with the names that were originally given to these 6 profile lines when human design was first founded. It was an era when it was in the 80s, and it was put together in a way that the languaging around human design from those early original texts can be a little bit harder to connect to and resonate with in 2020, right? So there is other ways that we can express this information. There are other descriptive words that we can use. And I always say, take what resonates for you, leave what doesn't. Maybe find your own word that resonates if mine don't even. But I'd like to sort of share with the way that I particularly see all of this information, what resonates for me and what I've found typically really resonates for the people I read for as well. So 1 lines, if you have a 1 in your profile, whether that's your first number, whether it's your second number, this is for you. So you will see this described within the older text as being the investigator, which isn't such a bad, word. It pretty much resonates. But the way I like to describe it is that if you have a 1 line in your profile, you are here to embody being life's teacher. Now, the teaching aspect of this is very much that you enjoy and learn and process life by being that type of person who enjoys and just thrives on understanding at a really deep level, getting clarity, and is always on that sort of track to seek knowledge about everything. So it's feeling like you're always really driven to get to the bottom of things, gathering as much information as you can, as much on a subject, as much on a situation. And it really allows your soul to feel at its best when you are armed with all the information you require, right? That's when your soul feels safe, essentially. So it's kind of allowing yourself and giving yourself that permission to be that person who does always go away and feel really like they've prepared thoroughly, like they've armed themselves with all of the knowledge they could possibly ever have on a situation or an opportunity or just a topic that really is something that really calls to them. And you're driven to get to the bottom and know what you need to know through this process of research and analysis and reading and listening and, you know, getting into all the books and the podcasts and the YouTube videos and things like that. And it really does help you to navigate the world as you go about then being that person who shares what it is you know, because you've gone away and you've essentially researched it. So that's if you have a 1 in your profile, that is what that energy is going to come about for you. Now 2 lines, this if you have a 2 in your profile, this is for you. So this is commonly referred to as being the hermit. And while I laugh because I have a 2 in my profile, and I will unapologetically say that I have a very hermity life and I really enjoy the hermit aspect of my own personal profile, my own personal life, it also can be a little bit disempowering for people. So the essence of a 2 line is being life's effortless genius. So this is being someone who you just know stuff and you can't really necessarily explain how or why you know what you know. It's like the things that you understand in this lifetime come very effortlessly to you, and your knowledge and your wisdom and the way you show up in the world is very unique to you as a 2 line. You kind of have these gifts, but you can't really explain how you've got them. So it's very much also got that energy of allowing yourself to sort of have the introspection time to enjoy being in your kind of zone of genius, to indulge in your gifts that you do have, the knowledge that you do have, because that's what allows you to go really deep with it and consolidate it and just be very much immersed in what it is that you are here to do and how you're here to show up in the world. And you could kind of, this is where the hermit, you know, I'm saying in quotation marks, side comes in, because it is that energy of showing up in the world going, actually, I'm quite happy being undisturbed, you know, I'm quite happy over here, just rocking my thing. I don't necessarily want other people coming into my space and getting in amongst what I'm here to do. And so that's where you can just understand that actually give yourself that permission for that solitude, for that alone time, for that time spent just keeping on honing in on your gifts that you do have. And you kind of have to turn off a lot of the shoulds of the world. And this is probably, you know, applicable to every profile, but particularly for a 2 line, because you're here kind of showing up in the way that it is that introspective process. You know, it's probably all the memes about introverts, you know, those are the people who've got 2 lines in their profiles. So it's very much just understanding that it's okay for you to feel like you want to have a lot of space and a lot of alone time, and you can empower others around you by saying, hey, look, it's nothing personal against you, it's not you, this is just how I thrive, and this is how I actually get into my genius, and I allow that genius to shine, and then I can share that genius with the world because I've had that time on my own to kind of get really into what it is that I'm here to do and be and embody, and now I'm able to share it because I'm able to, right? You've had that time to really just be recharged. Okay, and the beauty is that when we talk about the fact that we've got 2 profile lines, is that anyone who has got a 2 within their profile has got a counterbalancing other line that comes on in, whether it's being a 2-4, a 6-2, you know, for example, it counterbalances the hermity, quote unquote, side of you, so that you can actually show up in the world and share your gifts, because you've got something that draws you out into the world naturally in that particular way, shape or form that the other profile line energy embodies. Now, 3 lines. You are the people who are here, as I like to call it, to ride life's roller coaster. Now, you will see in a lot of the OG literature for human design that the 3rd line profiles are known as the martyr. And again, this is where the languaging is a little bit harder to resonate with, a little bit it doesn't particularly resonate for me, and again I find it a little bit disempowering. So how you can view yourself with the power that comes with a 3 line is to understand that you are here to be a soul who has agreed to come here, and life is going to teach you what it is that you know, what it is that you are here to be gifted at, what it is that you are here to share with others, help others with, pursue in your life, you know. So it's very much being here to live via life experience, to grow through what you go through, to ride out the ups and downs, to engage in that trial and error process. That's your mentor, that's your school, right? The more you engage in trying things out and just going into experiences with that openness and that awareness to say, hey, I'm a 3 line. I'm here to kind of just jump on in and see what happens and see what it might flop. It might be a success. It might, you know, have some sort of unexpected return that I couldn't even have pictured before I went into this situation or opportunity or connection. So it's like the school of life is your teacher, and then that's what you go about sharing with the world, right? That's what you go about helping others with. You are someone who doesn't necessarily research through traditional methods of books or, you know, actually getting into particular researchy type mode. And you're also not necessarily someone who comes in knowing what your sort of gifts are, like a 2 line. So this is where we move beyond that kind of life's teacher, life's sort of genius, you know, and then into the 3rd line of going, actually, I'm the clean slate who's come in and going, I really want to just trial and error my way through things because that gives me the most human experience out of all the different profile lines. And it's very much just kind of having that self-assurance that failure is not even a thing, right? We've been conditioned by society to fear failure. We've been conditioned by society to only go into something if we know it's going to be very logical, have this immediate success, have this tangible outcome. You know, we hear all these sayings, you know, particularly in the entrepreneurial world, like return on investment and knowing what your margins are and all of that sort of stuff. But a 3 line is actually not here to live by any of those rules because they're here to go, actually, you know, screw what all the marketing gurus say, or who cares what my parents tried to tell me about only going into things that I knew were going to be a sure thing, right? Because that is the 3 line experience, that you're here to go into things with the kind of open-mindedness, open-heartedness, and just go, actually, you know what? Nothing is a failure. Everything is a learning opportunity. Everything is a growth opportunity. And you're like an explorer going off into the wild, right? Each and every single day. And it's kind of like you get to get your hands dirty and go really deep with life because you get to ride these incredible highs going up and down on the roller coaster as well. And knowing that actually your biggest empowering moment you can give yourself is to do that inner work to reframe any sort of feelings or emotions or conditioning you might have around the word failure. The more you can just go, actually, you know what? I am here to dance with life. I'm here to play. I'm here to just try everything, no matter what the outcome is. So I don't know if you've ever watched a Bob Ross video, but there's all these kind of memes and jokes about the fact that he always talks about there are no mistakes, there are lots of little happy accidents, and that is a 3 line. That's a 3 line existence, lots of little happy accidents. So let's talk about a 4th line profile, a 4 line profile. Now in the OG literature, this is often referred to as the opportunist. Again, a little bit of a word that's a bit hard to resonate with and sounds a bit disempowering in my personal opinion. So I like to talk about 4 lines as being life's relationship builder. You are someone who is here to just always be forming close relationships. It's this natural and effortless gift that you have and you've come here with, and you are always going to have at your fingertips. And it's understanding that the first 3 profiles that we've talked about, they had their own unique way of learning, growing, connecting to others. And now a 4th line comes in and goes, actually, my opportunities, my learning, my growth, my expansion, all of the way I show up in the world comes through my ability to connect to other people. It comes directly from a 4-line, your community of people. Everything comes from your community of people, your connections, the people that you know, not just your family, but like your friends, your colleagues. It's all to do with that people, 4 lines. That's the thing to remember, is it's all to do with the people in your world. But like saying that, it's your people, right? It has to be those aligned people for you, and not just sort of expecting it to be like a cold connection, right? It's going to be someone that you know and know that you are aligned with in terms of your energy, your way of showing up in the world, all of that good stuff. So the quality of your life as a 4-line is directly determined by the quality of your relationships between your community, between your family, between everything, right? There's like a direct correlation as a 4-line. And you're not here to be a soul who's going to be going into experiences or connections or relationships, whether that's romantic or partnerships or workplace, for example, that are those kind of like impartial or meaningless situations. It's always going to be people that you have got really deep similarities to and alignment with. And you can think of it like, give yourself permission to know that your growth and your biggest kind of, I guess, moments of expansion or opportunity, it's always going to come through a connection, those connections to people, for example. So it really is kind of understanding that it can seem a little bit confusing at times when you've been given that sort of advice from the gurus who are like, oh no, just go and like cold pitch yourself, or just go and show up and out of the blue, or cold call that person. Or no, for a 4-line, that's so at odds with your alignment and your way of showing up in the world. In your world and your expansion and your growth, it comes from those deep connections with people. It's not that just sort of superficial level conversations that might spark something. It's very, very much that you are here to be that person who connects and grows and develops. And it's just almost, again, it's being able to have that self-awareness to actually, you know what, I don't need to compare myself to others, because there's going to be 5-line profiles, for example, who are just out there to like save the day for everyone, and it's going, actually, you know what, I'm here to be that person who can just forget about all the shoulds, show up in the way that is the permission to live life in your own lane. So then we're on to 5 lines. So I did just touch on them before. So a 5th line profile, if you have this, is also another one that the name is like, what does that even mean? The heretic, like, come on. So the way I describe this is that if you have a 5 in your profile, you are life's problem solver. So this is where it's kind of got a harmony with 2 lines. There's a little bit of that same energy, that it's kind of got this effortless side to it, that 5 lines just kind of show up as someone who can easily save the day for others, who is here as the kind of, I won't say mirror, it's not quite mirror, it's like the yin and the yang to the 2 line. The 2 line's got this easy breezy genius thing, but it's kind of that in solitude, like blissful solitude, whereas the 5 line's got the easy breezy genius, but it's like out there in the world saving the day for everyone. So it's very much a 5-line life energy way of showing up in the world. Is you're someone who's here to easily interact with anyone, anything, whether it's total strangers, whether it's people you randomly bump into at the supermarket, the Uber driver that you get, that's a 5 lines life. Is like you've got that save the day energy about you, and it is at all times, in all places, in all spaces, and it just is that kind of bumping into random opportunities and going like, oh yeah, I can get involved in that, or I can help with that, or this is how I can share my knowledge. And it is Exactly, Moana, like adaptable to anyone and everyone in a very effortless, natural sort of way. Like there's no kind of smarmy, calculated aspect here. A 5 is just always going to have that. I'm here to fix things. I'm here to turn things around. I'm here to offer the solutions, and I'm here to save the day as well. So again, remember that a 5 line will always have something that counters this as well. So I'll touch on this point of 3 5s. There are a lot of 3 5s in this world. There are a lot of them. And it's very common because you've got the 3 line who is going through life, learning by trial and error, riding the roller coaster, going through the ups and downs, which is the very, very human experience that we're all here to go through, but then has that I'm also here to save the day and help and be here for others. And it's this really effortless, charming combination when the two come together, because each of the different profile types has got their own kind of magic combination that the two make when they join up with each other. And it is that very charismatic, very effortlessly, very fun, very relatable, because it's almost got this beautiful mixture between having the vulnerability of, hey, I've been through this was hard, this was a challenge, this was when shit didn't go right, this is when something failed, but I'm looking at it from the energy of like, I learned from it, I grew from it. And the 5 lines like out there going like, hey, this is my life experience that I'm going to bring with me, and I'm going to help you, and I'm going to cheer you on, and I'm going to celebrate you. And it's a really beautiful energy, 5 lines. So it's understanding that as a 5 line, you're here to kind of share your gifts in a way that's not so necessarily one-on-one. It's kind of more like you're designed for the crowd, and you're designed to be that person who can kind of like dispense your way of showing up in the world in a more broader sense. It's understanding as well that particularly if you have that 5 as your second number, the rest of the world see you as being someone who can save the day. The rest of the world sees you as being someone who is here to help, who is here to guide them, who is here to take their hand, who is here to solve their problems for them. So if your 5 is on the second part of your profile, boundaries is like all I'll say. You've got to have boundaries, because everyone will come calling for you to be the person who solves their problems for them. So again, it's like part of that life experience, that life lesson. And then conversely, if you have your 5 as the first number within your profile, you see yourself as being that person who can save the day, who can help others. But depending what your second number is, say for example, Moana, I'm seeing you say, being a 5-1, the rest of the world sees you as being kind of the investigator, the teacher, the person who is kind of, I don't want to like paint a broad brush, but it's almost like that energy of like always researching, or kind of got your nose in a book, or listening to a podcast, or constantly being in that kind of learning mode, and might not necessarily recognize that you've actually got these gifts to share with others with that 5 line, because you see yourself that way and kind of go, well, why doesn't the rest of the world ask for my help? Because I can help, but they see you with a kind of different lens to the way you see yourself. So that's something that as a 5 line, it's understanding where it sits within your profile can be really powerful, because rather than self-doubting or kind of going, whoa, why does everybody keep coming to me to solve their problems? Then you can understand. That's the awareness that comes in. Now, lastly, let's talk about 6 line profiles. Again, this is my conscious side, my 6-2 profile. So 6 lines are a really interesting aspect of a profile, and it's really, really powerful to understand because the 6 line is the only of the profile lines who changes 3 times throughout their existence. So a 6 line is often referred to as the role model, which I resonate with that, and I find that not too out there as, as some of the other descriptions can be. But you can also think of this as being the wise head, the wise sage, the old soul. And it's understanding that if you have a 6 in your profile, you're always going to have a path, a lifelong path, a lifelong pull to becoming someone that you are proud of becoming. I'll say that again so that you can catch it. As a 6 line, you are on a lifelong path to becoming someone that you are proud of becoming. It's got a real kind of, I hate to say the word weight to it, but it's got that kind of, you come into this existence knowing that you are someone here who has got that kind of mantle of responsibility. You know, you're the child who is kind of this really responsible child, you know. And it's the interesting part is that the first 30 years of life is lived as though you were a 3 line. So the first 30 years as a 6 line in your profile, you are actually experiencing life as a 3. Now, depending on the other aspects of your profile, right? So imagine you, for example, are a 6-3 profile. That means that for your first 30 years, you're actually living life as a 3-3, a 3-3. So it's like you are here to ride the fucking roller coaster, right? So it helps to understand that first 30 years are like your personal training ground. Your soul is here to go through the ups and downs, to live life by trial and error, to go through all the challenges, the growth moments, the trialing and erroring, and to have that process of reframing failure and be allowed to fail, I think, as well. Because I see, Nicole, you're mentioning with your son being a 4-6. So that's really powerful for you as his mama to go, actually, it's okay for him as up until he's about 30 to go through the shit that I can see is like going to go wrong, but he's learning from that experience, and like empower him to learn in a way that is his soul needs to go through it to get to the other side and to learn. And so it's so powerful to understand that. And it comes about at around about your Saturn return, which is around about 30 years old. Obviously there's a bit of, you know, a window of when that happens for some people. I know personally, I feel like my transition into a 6 line existence, when I look back, I can sort of see that it wasn't quite at 30. It was more into about like 32-ish. So it's understanding that once you move into that second stage, after you've hit that Saturn return, that's when you're living life as your 6 line. And there's often referred to this being as the 6 line going up on the roof, and I'm using quotation marks there. And basically all that means is that that's your phase when you kind of get to understand that you've done your training, you've gone through all those growth experiences, and you kind of get that moment of being able to withdraw a little bit and go, okay, this all now makes sense. I can see where it all fits in, and this is the wisdom that I've learned from that, and this is now my lived experience that I kind of have made sense of, and I understand now a bit more, and that I'm going to give myself that permission to be a lot more focused on my own life, to learn about myself. 6 lines typically go into this kind of phase of, I'm here to build a family, whatever family looks like for you, right? There are no, you know, you guys know me, there are no conventions when it comes to family, but it's building whatever family or partnership, you know, that deep connection with a aligned partner looks like for you as a 6 line. It's a real kind of calling that comes on in that phase of life. And this goes through till around about 50 years old, and that's the Chiron return. And I'll say this as kind of an interesting thing to think about, is that 6 line profiles are the first generation coming through at around about now who know about this. And what I mean by that is that human design only came into our human collective consciousness in the 80s. So prior to that, you had people potentially living a 6 line profile life who human design didn't exist back then. And anyone born from the 80s onwards has potentially grown up with human design being in our collective conscious and understanding. And so it means that we've now that we're in 2020, we've got people who have been born from the 80s onwards who are in that transition phase, like myself, who have moved out of their 3-line profile first part of their life and are transitioning into their middle section of life, their 6-line life. However, no one yet has actually lived a whole existence as a 6-line, understanding their human design. So there are a lot of people who might potentially be 6 lines who are a little bit older, who might be into their 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond, but they didn't know about their 6-line profile human design life earlier on. So people around about that kind of mid-20s to mid-30s age are kind of like the first trial and error group who are moving through that existence. And when we all kind of collectively get to about that age 50, which is when we'll transition into the 3rd phase of the 6-line profile existence, which is when essentially it's talked about as being a experience where you actually feel like you can come back down off the roof and re-enter kind of society from that kind of empowered place of knowing that, hey, I've lived this whole life I've had my 30 years of trial and error, I've had my 20 odd years of consolidation and mastering my gifts and really getting secure in my foundation of my wisdom and deepened my understanding. And now I'm really called to be out in the community. And, I have this visualization of myself as a, 50, 60-year-old lady with like white hair and, just being back out in society, like full noise, being like, hey, listen to me. This is what I've got to share. So it's really, it's a really interesting, it's going to be an interesting transition because particularly as a 6-line, it's kind of like we're also living an experiment that hasn't quite finished yet. So that's something that's I personally find really fascinating. And once I heard about that, I was like, wow, exactly, Nicole, like mind blown, right? So it's kind of like, what's so beautiful for you knowing your son now as a 6-line, like by the time he's at that age, there will have been so many other 6-lines gone before him. So we'll kind of get more of a real life example of how that actually looks and feels for people with 6s in their profiles. And it's very much just understanding that your whole life is going to be a bit of a push-pull between being out in the world while also enjoying kind of your own internal world. And I'll say this as a 6 too, obviously there are other people with other combinations of profiles that my 2-line, like we were talking about before, feels really strong in this season of life. And it also means that it gives me this kind of push-pull of going, actually, I absolutely adore the fact that I have social media at my fingertips because it means that I can show up as my full essence without literally having to leave my house. And so my 2-line bloody loves that. Is like, yeah, I get to roll out of bed and record a podcast in my pajamas, and I get to talk to my dogs all day and barely see another human being, and all of that 2-line kind of I'm happy jamming in my own, kind of zone, in my own genius. But at the same time, my 6-line gets to flex its muscles and do what it's here to do and to share its wisdom because I can do it in the way that aligns for me. And obviously there are so many other combinations of profiles, but that's just an example that I find that there is a push-pull, and it's learning to overcome that to go, actually, well, you know what, now that I have the awareness about my profile, my unique way of showing up in the world, this is what I can feel empowered about doing. And so I always talk about the fact that, even just in terms of understanding yourself better, just look at the first number and go, okay, if I am a 3-5, let's use that example again, you'll see yourself as always going through the ups and downs, like shit always goes wrong. I can like wake up one day and don't know, like nothing's going to go to plan, you know, Murphy's law, whatever happens will happens, all of those sayings, all of that conditioning. That's the way you're sort of looking at yourself. But if you can reframe all of that and go, actually, you know what, there are no failures. Everything is just a happy accident. Everything is a growth opportunity. I have the power to wake up thinking my day is going to go one way, and actually I never know what is going to come my way. I could bump into someone, you know, on my way to work who is literally going to be a new connection or a new opportunity, or I could see something, you know, on my phone that suddenly sends me off in a completely different direction, for example. And then you've got the 5 on the other hand, using that example of a 3-5 profile, that the 5 is the way the rest of the world sees you. So they're kind of constantly calling, they're going, hey, you've got gifts to share. You're amazing. Like, you can save the day for everyone. You're here to help us. You're here to guide us. You're here to kind of, you know, be that incredible charismatic person. And it's embracing the fact that actually you've got both within you and you can use those incredible gifts. And obviously this is where all the other aspects of your human design come into play. It is just beautiful knowing that that profile is the way you effortlessly show up in the world. However, you can have that awareness to know maybe where you see yourself differently to the rest of the world sees you, where the rest of the world looks at you with a different lens, with a different, you know, set of eyes. And it just allows you to kind of drop any of that self-doubt or feeling of like that kind of feeling of like, are they mucking around with me? Are they messing with me? You know, like, am I really this person who is powerful, who is here to share stuff? Because you can start to understand. You can understand it so much deeper. You know, profile is one of my real geeky little niches within the niches of human design that I love. And I really like to just help to kind of just make it a little bit more clearer to understand, because there are so many layers, so many layers. And let me know what resonated. Let me know if you have any questions as well, because I'm happy to jump in the comments and answer those. And thank you so much to all you incredible souls who were able to be here with me live. I know it was a bit of an impromptu. I didn't have a time. So I really appreciate you all spending your valuable, precious existence with me and sharing this space. Jamming on human design. Yes, Nicole, go and check the rest of your family in, and I'd love to know who everyone else is as well, because this is where it gets like next level exciting to be able to go, I now see why you are the way you are, and that is okay. You know, I think for me personally, it was a big step forward in being able to release any of those last places of conditioning where I felt that pressure, you know, particularly as a projector, to be trying to solve other people's problems for them or to try and fix things is really classic for a projector. And found out that actually, I'll just use the example, my mum is a 3-5 and she's a generator. So she's a 3-5. So she is here to be that person who is like so freaking charismatic. People love it. Everyone adores Anne. She is just this people, you know, like out there helping the world, but is going through life trial and error, ups and downs. And so there's always things that for me as a projector, I can see kind of from a mile away going, that's not going to work. And I used to kind of carry that of like, I'm here, you know, classic 6 line going, here's my wisdom, here's what I'm here to share, here's how I could see that it could be better. But actually now I know, I'm like, oh, that's just your path, and that's your existence, and that's how you are here to show up every day. And so actually, who am I to try and change that path for you? I'm here to love you unconditionally. I'm here to support you, but I also don't need to carry that burden of trying to be the person who always solves your problems on your behalf, because you have everything you need in order to do so. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there, my loves. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing time and space with me. You are amazing, and I can't wait to chat more in the group. So we will talk soon.